Well, howdy ho, my peeps. Boy, I'm happy to sit down and make another video. Oh, update. I'm adjusting, adjusting to having lost Mallory. All of you guys, I would be willing to bet that almost to a person, everyone out there's lost animals and has gone through the same thing that I went through last week. As time goes on, you adjust, like I said. I had a nice time in San Diego. That was great. I got to relax, got to de-stress. That was wonderful. Came home. I've been a little bit low energy ever since I got home. I've managed to go out and work in my yard and, do some weeding and plant my succulents that Rachel gave me and put Mallory's stuff away. I've done all that. I think I told you already. And, but I'm not having this real lean forward feeling about life right now. I'm just sort of drifting through, doing what I need to do. Well, one of the things I needed to do was go see my doctor yesterday. Just your typical, how when you're on medications, they usually like to see you at least every 6 months. Well, yesterday was my 6-month checkup. And wow, I must be doing something right because all of my blood work was perfect. Even my diabetic numbers were down below what you would consider the diabetic range. Cholesterol is textbook perfect. Everything is good. And of course, I got a lot of attaboys from my doctor saying, just keep on keeping on. She looked back in her records and said that I'd lost 30 pounds since I saw her the last time. 30 pounds in 6 months is not that much, but it's significant anyway. And now that I'm getting relatively close to a sustainable weight, I probably have a 50 pounds, maybe more to go before I can look at myself and say, hey, you know what? You're healthy at this weight, your blood work is good, you have good mobility, your stamina and strength is up, you're fine right here. So even though I still have ways to go, I'm just feeling good about everything that's happened. One thing we discussed, though, was the fact that my hair is falling out. It's obviously, you guys who see me all the time obviously can tell just how much I've lost, especially on top. And so I talked to her about that, and she says, I noticed. So I'm going to go see a dermatologist. She's going to do a few more blood tests and see if she can figure out what's going on. I think it is a combination of genetics, weight loss. I would say nutrition, but my nutrition has been good. And age, and perhaps medications, even though the medications on my list none of them have hair loss as a reported symptom. There could also be, or side effect rather, there could also be like a synergy between medications. So whatever. I mean, it's like I told her, I said, listen, I would love to know why my hair is falling out. And if there's something I can do to like stall it or have it come back, whatever, that'd be great. I told her, but you know what? I'm old enough that it's, that's what wigs are for, right? So anyway, so that brings you up to date. Today I'm going to do some lean forward activities. I'm going to get out and start raking my pasture just like I did last summer. The horses are still across the street. They're looking really good. The people have dialed in their nutritional needs, but still having extra pasture grass coming from my house is a good idea. So I'm going to start ramping up. Same thing I did last year, getting out there, raking, weed eating, and dragging stuff across the street. So I think that's going to be my summer activity for into the future, as long as they have horses anyway. So that's what's going on. But I do have something to read to you today. This is an essay, a childhood essay. And without further ado, let's get going. Bring this back to there. Cheap wine, crappy candy, and minestrone. Ground fog hung above the asphalt parking lot of the Little Brown Jug, an out-of-the-way liquor store in the next town over. Dad always left me outside, alone in the car, during our frequent liquor store runs together. On this jaunt, I was about 3 years old, wearing only the bottoms of my footed pajamas, my naked skin exposed to the clammy night air, puckered above my waistband. Dad's 1931 Model A Ford Cabriolet convertible was open to the sky, making it easy for me to jump high on the bouncy vinyl seat while holding the steering wheel and pretending to drive. Doing a late-night liquor crawl with my dad was always exciting. Pop rarely drank hard liquor, hated the taste, he said, but he spent each evening awash in cheap wine. He'd come out of the store with a gallon of Red Mountain Burgundy and the weirdest candy treat he could find. No mainstream retail candy for us kids. If it was shilled during Saturday morning cartoons, it was off the list of possible surprises Dad might grab on his way to the cash register. A parade of vaguely disturbing candies made their way out of the liquor store and into my grubby little paws to be immediately devoured. A box of chocolate-flavored, chewy candies shaped like human babies, chalky sugar cigarettes, or candy-coated black licorice drops that threatened to break your teeth before depositing that awful taste on your tongue. But it was the only candy game in town on the drive back home, shivering in the rumble seat and wondering what he had against Milky Ways, Tootsie Rolls, and Chick-a-Sticks. I longed for Abba Zabbas, milkshake bars, and M&Ms. I got hollow wax lips filled with toxic red liquid. It was the same drill no matter which liquor store we frequented. The oddly named AAAA Liquors over by the Starlight Drive-In, John's Liquor and Bait Shop, and Rogers Midway Liquors all yielded the same disappointing candy selections. Dominic's Liquors was different. Not the candy. Dad always ferreted out the oldest and nastiest. But the proprietors. Dorothy and Dominic were Italian, like my grandfather, and belonged to St. Anthony's Parish, same as us. They worked the store together day in and day out and had it set up for comfort. Behind the counter was a little room furnished with a formica table, a little gas stove, and a refrigerator. It was here that Dorothy would prepare their meals for the long days they spent at the store. Sometimes, especially if it were near closing time and Dad was in deep conversation with Dominic, Dorothy would sit me at the red formica dinette and give me a bowl of minestrone, and my world was secure. If I was very lucky and it was near Christmas, Dorothy might slip me a tiny paper box containing one perfect piece of Delalo Terone, a soft nougat confection with toasted almonds, featuring a portrait of Nonna Delalo, matriarch of this candy clan. Life, I've decided, is like a liquor run with Dad. It often results in cold shoulders, cheap wine, and disappointing candy. But sometimes an individually boxed mouthful of Nonna D's Terone comes my way, and my world is secure again.